Welcome to the Perth Entrepreneur Podcast with me, Neil Gibb, where each week we use the stories and journeys of other successful business owners to motivate, inspire, and empower you to become the next breed of successful entrepreneurs. Our guest this week is Brodie McCulloch from Spacecubed. Brodie has a very interesting business model, and he built it in a time when office space in the Perth CBD were at its highest vacancy rate. Spacecubed currently has over 7,000 square meters of innovative co-working spaces, hubs and office space for entrepreneurs, startups and corporate entities to grow in a community of like-minded individuals and business owners. Welcome to the show, Brodie.
Yeah, thank you.
So Spacecubed, it sounds futuristic. Mm-hmm. What's it all about?
So Spacecubed we set up about almost 10 years ago now. And what we were looking at was how do we support entrepreneurs, innovators and change makers. So there was big change happening in the world, which compared to 10 years ago, things are way worse now.
Yeah, they are.
And what we looked at was, well, how do we support the people that are coming out with big ideas to tackle those challenges? And through that process, set up a number of co-working spaces, have a range of programs to support entrepreneurs. And now building out our technology platform to sort of scale that support.
Yeah, right. Cool. So with a name like McCulloch, it sounds like it's a bit of a Scottish background going on there.
Yeah, it is from a long time ago. So family moved here, grew up, worked in the country sort of thing. So Kellerberrin is where a lot of our family comes from, and Merredin. And then I was born in Derby. Grew up through the country and then moved to Perth when I was younger. And went to uni. So
I went to uni in Perth.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So how did you sort of come up with the idea for Spacecubed then?
Yeah, so I'd been working overseas for about 5 years. So working for a cruise line as marketing manager, which was an awesome job. Got to travel all over the world and moved back and was sort of looking at what I did next in life. So I'd had lots of good experiences, had a degree in marketing and e-business, and had always been interested in setting up my own business. And through that process, started looking at, well, what support is there in Western Australia when you want to set up your business? And at the time, there wasn't a huge amount of support, especially if you were looking at doing something a little more innovative. So I saw an opportunity to set something up that would support entrepreneurs and startups to grow their business. So that's really where it came from, and it's just sort of gone from there.
Right. And how do you kind of test in the early stages when you came up with this idea? How do you test that it's going to work and that there is demand for it?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question because probably like 18 months before we started, a business very similar to what we started, what we set up as Spacecubed, went out of business. So it didn't work then.
Right.
I think there's a few big things where a few big trends that are happening globally. So, the rise of millennials in the workforce. Millennials will make up sort of 75% of the workforce by 2025. So just this huge shift in the demographics where millennials want to work wherever they're most productive. Mm-hmm. Large corporates also with all this uncertainty, wanting shorter term accommodation. So, and also they're wanting access to more innovative entrepreneurial talent as well for their businesses to bring in new ideas. And then just the changing nature of real estate. So people are changing how they're using space, how they access space. So through all that process, we really saw an opportunity and had an opportunity to test that with Stockland. So it was during the mining boom. So it was literally probably the last bit of commercial office space in Perth at the time. It was the old Reserve Bank. So it hadn't been used for 15 years. Didn't have any windows, all that sort of stuff. But we set that up as a really cool, interesting space and did a deal with Stockland where we had a break clause so that if it didn't work, we could get out of it. So it allowed us to try something in a really low risk way. They got a lot out of it because they got to, they were supporting entrepreneurs and it's really just grown from there. So everything we've done we've been able to test in a lower risk way. But at the same time, you've got to push the boundaries on some of these things.
Yeah, definitely. So did Stocklands have the lease on that old building?
So they own the building.
They own the building, right? And you just leased a floor from them at a time, was it? And
That's
then
right.
Grew from there?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just create smaller, smarter working spaces for people to just rent a desk, or do they rent the floor or part of it?
A mix. So we have people that sign up, they just come in one day a month sort of thing, all the way through to, we have some of the Perth's larger corporates having with 140 sort of staff with us. So it's all the way from someone with an idea through to large, into national global companies using this sort of space now.
Right. So a full company might come to you and lease out a large area. for individual.
That's right.
To come in there.
Yeah, and they might have project teams. We have RAC's Innovation Lab in our space. So they've got a $23 million innovation fund. So that's based out of Flux at 191 St George's Terrace. We have Solder, which is our prototyping maker space in our space. So a whole range of different types of spaces for people to access where they can get, their own hot desk sort of space all the way through to their own office or whole floor.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was hot desking. So literally you can have one space one day, come back the next day and someone else might be sat there.
Yeah, part of our space is made up of that.
Yeah.
Or you can get your own desk, or you can get your own office, or you can get your own floor. So it's designed to be, and we have had companies start with 2 people, go up to, now they've got 2 of their own floors sort of thing.
Right. Nice. And is that because of the ongoing support that you give them once they come into that space, or is it because they're surrounded by other entrepreneurs and they sort of get inspiration from them too?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. So definitely there's a lot of support through programs that we run, but also especially that company, so Virtual Gaming World, people might know them. They started, literally with a couple of people sitting around a table. Now they've got 450 staff. They hired a lot of their initial employees from within the space, so that's good for our members. There's job opportunities as well. So I think that really helped. They could go along to events, they could meet a lot of new people, and with that growth, they needed access to a lot of good talent. So co-working spaces are a really good place to get a job and get interesting jobs as well, but also a good place to learn if you're setting up your own venture.
Yeah, and I suppose you've always got people there to ask questions to. When we set our business up, I was in the spare bedroom, so I didn't have any of that sort of inspiration from anybody, so it might have helped.
No, definitely. I think that peer-to-peer connection, and that's what we're trying to do now, is how do we really enhance that peer-to-peer connection between our members so that they can trade with each other, help each other. We already have a lot of that, but we don't really track that. So we want to see, how can we amplify that peer-to-peer relationship between all the different members we have.
Yeah, right. So how big is Spacecubed then? How many areas do you have to lease out currently?
Yeah, so we've got, we're about to go up to about 7,000 square metres in the Perth CBD. We've got Riff, which is at 45 St George's Terrace, which is more a sort of creative space. We've got Flux, which is more sort of a lot of engineers, lots of technical people working there. So different types of spaces for different types of people. And really what we want to do is provide different types of spaces where people work wherever they're most productive. We've got a space with Murdoch University that we have partnered with them on, which is around engaging with industry, government, with their students. So that's at 32 St George's Terrace. And we're just about to open a new space in May as well, which is a more sort of premium space. And that'll have, another 120 people working there. So.
Nice work. So do you own any of this real estate, or
We don't. We lease all of the space.
Yeah.
Or more recently, we've also signed management agreements with the owners of the buildings. So building owners are really seeing that they need access to this sort of space in their building. And that's coming from demand from their tenants. So larger companies, I mentioned before, don't know how much space they're going to need in 12 months, let alone in the 5 to 10 year leases they usually have to sign. So what they're opting for is getting a sort of head office space, which might be their own company branded space, and then accessing flexible space within the building. So building owners are needing to put in this flexible space to accommodate to larger tenants and attract larger tenants. So that's the big shift we're seeing. So we lease some of our space, and then we have management contracts over a number of the spaces.
Excellent. And so if, say for instance, one small startup just wants to be around other people to get the inspiration from them, what's the cheapest sort of rate they can rent something from you for?
Yeah, so we just have a community membership, which gives them sort of 1 day a month. They can access all of our online communities, come into events, and it's $35 a month. So it's really accessible for people to get started.
Yep.
And then they just pay for more time as they need it, or their own desk or their own office as they grow.
Right. And it's flexible and it's not a locked in contract or anything like that?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Good stuff. So you mentioned there's obviously a lot of startups that come through there. You must see some exciting things come through there, do you?
We do. Yeah. We've had a lot of startups come through over the years, and now it's been sort of 8 years that we've had the spaces open. So we're really seeing people who have gone from that 1 or 2 person idea all the way up to large companies now, which is great. And I guess what we're really happy about is that over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, that's really accelerated. So we've seen more and more companies coming through. A number of our companies, so Hum, one of the ones that went through our +8 program, which is our investment program, they moved to the US and have just raised it's about 2.5 million US dollars. And that started they started from within our space and our community. We've seen a number of companies that now are getting a lot of runs on the board. And I think because of the volume of companies, we just had 24 companies come into our new +8 Accelerator Program. In the first year, that was sort of 7 or 8 companies. So we're seeing a lot higher quality startups coming through the Perth ecosystem. The growth of those, the access to funding is becoming more available as well.
Right. Do you think there's more people out there trying to become entrepreneurs, set their own businesses up and take risks?
I think so. I think the promise of you go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a degree, and then get a job for the next 40 years doesn't really exist anymore. The numbers are a young person now is going to have 17 to 25 different jobs in their lifetime, and then a number of different careers. So I think that's really changed how people view how they're going to approach their career, approach their work, do something they're really passionate about. And luckily in Australia, we're in a really lucky position for people to be able to do these things without much risk, like relative to the rest of the world. There's a strong safety net. People have access to strong communities and networks to support them. There's now access to more and more funding becoming available. So I think it's sort of if you want to start up a business, now is definitely the best time to do it. Yeah.
Do you think there's more awareness out there as well for people not to go down the traditional route of go to school, go to university, get a job, stay there forever? Because I never really heard of it until maybe 6-7 years ago when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and from there everything just spiraled out of control for me. Right. I just think there's a lot more people out there making people aware that they don't need to follow that path, and obviously with what you offer, it certainly helps people not follow that path, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think our goal has been to lower that barrier and increase the chances of people's success through accessing peer-to-peer networks, access to funding, access to support. And I think that's worked really well. But increasingly, there is just more and more support for people. And I think, we're going to need to do it. That we need to, Australia has, when you compare it to the US, the number of tech companies on the stock exchange is much lower. So if we're going to reinvent, and do this sort of digital transformation and change the way Australia works and create those sort of wealth-creating industries, then we really need to have people who are pushing the boundaries on this. I mean, people look at the Atlassian story and Canva story. We need sort of 50, 100 of those. And that's where the US has that entrepreneurial spirit, because people who go through that process of growing a company like that often then go and invest in the next series of companies. And in Australia, that seems to be just winding up, but we need a lot more of that.
Yeah, we do. You certainly do. So how did you find, you mentioned that when you first set up, that there was minimal office space in the CBD, and then the boom finished and there was just a mass.
Yeah.
It was like there was office space everywhere. So how did you cope through them tough times?
Yeah, so the last 6 years has been interesting, which is sort of we'd set up, and within 2 years, all of a sudden the whole market collapsed.
Yeah.
I think there's always opportunity when there's large disruptions like that. I guess what we had to focus on was it couldn't just be about a desk and a chair. It had to be about, and luckily we started with the intention that it was about how do we support entrepreneurs and people to be more successful with their business ideas or just ideas in general. So I think going through that process and coming from that place meant that the desks and the chairs and the space has been the enabler of that. So through those times, we have seen that, our spaces have been operating almost at full occupancy. They fill up really quickly when we open new ones. And I think that's because we had that added value that, and that hospitality customer experience that if you just rent a space, you don't get. People can walk in, literally sign a agreement with us and start working straight away.
Yeah,
everything's there and connect in. We have a lot of interstate and international companies using our space because for their employees, they want to connect in with community. So I think that's a big shift in the general market. And it's what's meant that, through that 6 years, we went from 500 square meters to, by middle of this year, we'll be up at over 7,000 square meters, which is rapid growth. We haven't taken on any external financing. That's all just been organic through people using our spaces.
Yeah, nice work. Nice work. So I was going to touch on the programs, if you don't mind. Can you tell us what the programs are that you run?
Yeah, we have a whole range of different programs. So and they're really designed to take people from, they start at an early idea stage all the way through to, they're growing their businesses and they've got a team and they need more support. So we sort of start out with events like Startup Weekend, where people come in with an idea, usually about sort of 70 to 100 people, pitch their idea on the Friday night, form teams, and then build the idea by the Sunday and pitch it to a panel of judges.
Yeah, right.
But it's a way for people to, meet a whole new group of people with different skills, rapidly prototype their new ideas, and then build a product and get customer validation and feedback on that.
So it's like a Shark Tank thing.
Sort of, yeah, over a weekend, which is probably way worse.
Yeah.
So that program sort of then leads into our pre-accelerator programs. So +8, Leap and Sprint, which is sort of week-long or over a number of weeks, sort of courses, programs in people starting up their businesses.
Yeah.
Those then lead into +8 Accelerator, which is we provide seed funding to the companies that go through that, and a partner with RAC, Better Labs, Hawaiian, and a number of bigger companies around town to invest in those businesses. So we just had 24 go into that, and we'll invest in probably sort of 8 to 10 of those companies. And that's a 6-month intensive program. We take them to Singapore and also to the US as well. So really designed to be an intensive, does this have legs sort of experience.
And are you involved all the way through these programs, or there's certain ones that you're in and your staff take care of this?
Oh yeah, we've got a bigger team now. So we've got a really great team. So a lot of this stuff now our team takes care of.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've also done that program for 3 years now. So we've got a lot of experience and the model's working really well. Of the, I think we've had 20 odd companies go through that program. They've raised an additional $7 million and have a portfolio valuation of about just under $50 million. So,
wow.
We've had really good success with the companies that have been through that program so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really designed for people to come in with an idea and get support all the way through to grow their business.
And how did you manage to pull in the likes of RAC and the other companies in there to sort of support you with what you were doing?
Yeah, I think large companies are looking for innovation. They know their business models are going to be disrupted, and all of them are worried about, the Uber effect, but for their industry. So a lot of these larger businesses, and we've worked with HBF, RAC, Hawaiian, Telstra, a whole range of different companies who are looking at how can they access new innovative and entrepreneurial ideas, but also talent for their businesses. So it's been through a process. It usually starts with some smaller programs, or they're supporting a program, and then really grows from there. So RAC has been great over the years, and it's great to have them in our space. And they just recently announced that $23 million fund to invest in startups.
Yeah, I did see that on LinkedIn. Well done.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, it is. So you've been running for the last 9 years. How many staff have you managed to accumulate in that time?
Yeah, so we've got a few subsidiaries as well, but we're up to around 30 staff now.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, we've had a really good. A lot of the people who come to work for us are driven by the mission of what we're wanting to achieve around supporting entrepreneurs and change makers. So that's been really great over the last sort of 10 years, being able to get access to some really great people in Perth to help grow Spacecubed.
Yeah. And how is your selection process when you're out there looking for them? Are you just looking for the people aligned with your vision and your mission?
Yeah, we're definitely hiring for values and our people that align with our purpose.
Yeah.
All the stuff we do is pretty straightforward. Like, people can learn that, but if they're not proactive and driven by what we're doing, it generally doesn't work out. Or not in the long term. Now we've got staff that have been with us for sort of 7, coming up 8 years sort of thing. So, that's how we recruit, and it's becoming more and more, people are opting into that more and more. So we have people approach us wanting to, coming with, here's a plan how, I can deliver value back to Spacecubed. So that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, definitely. So as an entrepreneur, when you're ramping up the staff and you see other people with potential to be entrepreneurs, does that scare you in any way that they're applying for a job at your place and you see somebody there with fire in the belly? No,
I think, and we provide opportunities for our staff to do entrepreneurial things, I guess.
Yeah.
So one of our staff, Tom, originally started with us. He then went and worked for a startup after working with us, then came back and worked with us for a bit to help on our platform development, and now is working for a big startup in Germany. So I think, we want ambitious people who are wanting to push boundaries on things. And we haven't, I don't think for a large company, I can imagine that would be an issue. But, we've moved really quickly over the last sort of 7 to 8 years, and the business has grown massively. We want people on for that journey. And generally people who just want to come in 9 to 5 and tick the boxes of their job, that's not the right fit for an entrepreneurial business.
Yeah, true.
So really happy to have entrepreneurial people on board. And there's lots of opportunities within our business as well to, Kate Kerwin started up She Codes and was one of our program managers. She Codes Australia's Women Learning to Code programs, and that's growing massively at the moment. So she can run that entrepreneurial part of the business and grow something that she's really passionate about, and then delivers value back to our members.
Yeah, nice. So you've managed to build a business in a kind of market that was going down. So have you had any recognition for this achievement? Because it's impressive what you've done. I'm well impressed.
No, we definitely have. We've been really focused, and often people say, "Oh, they didn't know about us," but it's because we've just been focused on the people we can have an impact on, and generally, I don't know what the stats are exactly, but only a certain number of people in the population are going to take a punt at their ideas and be entrepreneurial. But we've definitely had, so we've won from Business News a number of awards. So the Rising Stars Award, not last year, the year before. And I've been up for a number of awards around 40 under 40 and those sort of things, which are good local recognition for the work that we do and help get the profile out a bit more for myself and for the business as well. But I think those sort of anything that helps raise profile of what we're doing and means that more people who have an idea can access support. Because we still do have a lot of people who, we find out that they're just toiling away in their garage sort of thing, not knowing about this network of support that's available to them.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes it's just head down, isn't it?
Yeah, which sometimes you've got to as well.
Yeah.
Like, even for us, it's, we go through sort of ups and downs of trying a whole bunch of new things and then focusing. And I think that's how you get, new ideas and new opportunities.
And how do entrepreneurs or startups find out about you? It's literally just advertising word of mouth, or is there
a lot of word of mouth. We have a lot of events happening in our spaces. There's lots of like morning startup happens every 2 weeks where an entrepreneur comes and speaks about their experience or something interesting that they're doing. And that's a free event every 2 weeks, so anyone can come along to that. So we have a lot of people come through, attract sort of 70 people every 2 weeks along to that.
Good turnout.
Yeah. 7:30 in the morning as well.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but usually they have a really good lineup of speakers throughout the year. So there's lots of different entry points for people to get involved, and depending on what stage of their business they're at, it's open to anyone to come along to those sort of things.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. And I also know that you were in the 40 under 40 as well. Is that right? Yeah.
So Business News run their 40 under 40 every year. So that was probably 2 years ago now. So great to be recognised through those sort of programs. It helped a lot with validating because we had been quite focused, the work that we were doing, and the impact we'd managed to have in the state as well. So, which since then has easily doubled again.
Yeah, it's impressive, mate. It's impressive. I'm going to come to one of the morning startups.
Yeah, it's open to anyone can come along. Just Google Morning Startup Perth and get registered through meetup.com. But there's lots of different events like that for people to learn because now increasingly, people are going to have to learn a whole range of new skills throughout their life. And that can be informal skills. It could be, collaboration skills. So these sort of events and meetup groups help with that.
Yeah. Can we talk about setting goals and tracking progress and stuff like that? Because did you have the vision that Spacecubed was going to grow to what it is now? Or has it sort of just happened and you've just held on tightly? Were you setting goals and tracking towards them?
Yeah, maybe a bit of both. I guess one of the things we've just been and we did struggle with this early on, with it's like, well, how much space do we want to get to? It's been difficult because of the market conditions. You don't want to take on too much space when there's already sort of 20% vacancies in the CBD. So I guess what we've really focused on is just responding to what our members have asked for and what they've needed. So Flux we built because our members were wanting a different type of space, a more sort of premium space, private offices, that sort of thing. So I think throughout the whole process, it really just has been a response from the market. It's probably why we haven't had a need to take on huge amounts of external investment as well. A lot of our competitors have taken on crazy, $12, $18 billion of investment to grow their businesses, which hasn't worked out so well for them. But I think we've just responded to the local market, delivered value back to our members, and then grown as we didn't build any new spaces last year because of there'd been a growth in competition. Whereas this year we're building spaces again because we just wanted to wait and see what happened with that.
Yeah,
so,
I was just about to ask about what's happening in the next 3 to 5 years. You're going to keep progressing?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think those trends I mentioned before around demographic shifts and how people work changing is only going to accelerate over the next 5 to 10 years. Large companies are going to use more and more flexible space as they use more and more flexible staff. So I just can't see people are going to need to keep learning. So I think, we're looking at opportunities in South Australia and Brisbane at the moment. Sydney and Melbourne's there's been a bit of a boom on there from a space perspective. So we'll probably stay away from there for a bit. Maybe run some of our programs, but not necessarily spaces. So I think our focus has been, really work out how we can deliver value in Perth and Western Australia.
Yeah, nice. And what sort of lessons have you learned or challenges and mistakes have happened along this way? Because it can't all be as easy as you're making it sound.
It's not. I should make it sound harder sometimes because it's like going on these journeys is hard work.
Yeah.
It's especially the first few years when we were just setting up, but also the economy collapsed at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough thing. And, we had some theories around more people out of work also a lot of people were quite well paid now out of work would start up businesses, which sort of happened, but probably not at the scale you would hope would happen. But I think there was more they'd save some cash so they could ride out the downturn until things got a bit better. So I think there's definitely been through those experiences, going through that. It has, as bad as it's been over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, it has meant that we've built a really resilient business. So compared to taking on a lot of capital and then needing to pay that back over the next sort of 20 or 30 years, we can self-fund our growth. So I think that's a good lesson for us. Until you've got a scalable solution that's proven, it doesn't necessarily make sense to take on huge amounts of capital.
Yeah.
Definitely taking on seed capital to get you moving makes sense. But that's something that we've done compared to our competitors over on the East Coast, where they have taken on large amounts of capital, which they're now they've signed leases at the peak of the market, puts them in a tough position for when the market turns there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it can't get any worse here.
Yeah.
So the market has been the lowest it's going to be and is now showing signs of improvement.
Is it starting to tighten back up? Is it the office space?
I think quality, A-grade office space is definitely tightening right up. A lot of the larger companies are starting up bigger projects, which are going to take up large amounts of space in the city.
Yeah.
So I think that shift's happening right now. So over the next 12 months, I would expect to China. I think I said that 12 months ago. So maybe take that with the greatest soul. I think everyone was just hoping it happens.
Everybody's been saying it about every aspect of real estate in Perth, haven't they? We've got to move soon. We've got to move.
Yeah. So I think it's I think lessons learned are really around building a resilient business and then also getting a great team around you who can is on for the journey and can deliver value back to your customers.
Yeah, excellent. Have you took any leases on that haven't worked out? Have they all worked?
Yeah, no, we've definitely shut down spaces, but more due to just changing market and changing needs.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a space in the above the Heritage Restaurant. So I think it's 132 St. George's Terrace. 139. So we set that space up, worked for a couple of years, but then the arrangement we had there changed in the lease. So that forced us pretty quickly to build another space back at 45 St. George's Terrace to accommodate all of those people. But I guess, as long as you take your customers and members on that journey, that actually worked out really well. Everyone was a lot happier being back in the one building sort of thing. So I think having that flexibility and making sure you can build leases are tough because, our other leases are 10 years. But
that long? Yeah,
they're longer term leases. But getting flexibility in being able to try things without it, being the thing that sort of means that the business ends if it doesn't go well is important. And I guess we've got into a good position now where we can experiment with a whole new bunch of ideas without it necessarily being over compensating for the rest of the business.
Yeah, right. And when you said there you build the space, do you pay for the office fit outs to convert them into your sort of styling, or do you negotiate with the owner for assistance with that?
Yeah, so through the lease, because we're signing longer term leases, you get an incentive as part of that, where that usually covers a lot of the fit out costs.
Right.
So yeah, that's the way we've structured all of that.
Excellent. Didn't know that. We've just signed a lease on an office space there, and
Oh, really?
yeah, we're actually putting some of our own money in to do flooring and all that sort of stuff. So
there you go.
Never mind. You learn something new.
This is it, and definitely the first deal we did on Space. On a lease, like I had no clue at all about it. So I think now we've just learned through trial and error. But I think definitely there's a space for getting good advice around this sort of stuff as well, especially in the property sector where it is longer term commitments you're making. And it is a very established industry of what works and what doesn't. So, and norms, and it doesn't change that much from what I can tell.
Yeah.
So I think that's, definitely getting some advice from advisors out there makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, nice. So what excites you about Spacecubed at the minute then? I know you've got a lot of plans coming up, but what's...
Yeah, no, I think the new spaces we're building are really exciting and different to what we've built before. I think seeing the runs on the board from our members and seeing the growth of our members, like a lot of our growth has come from the fact that our members are growing, so their businesses are growing, so we need more space to accommodate them. And increasingly people are wanting to stay within our spaces just because, it's affordable and it's easy as well. And they get access to this awesome community of people that can support them. The big thing we're working on right now is our technology platform. So taking everything we've learned from the last 10 odd years to build out a solution that can turn any office space into a smart office. So essentially it'll do all of our billing and meeting room management, but we've built in, which is sort of bread and butter, it needs to do those things.
Yep.
But the interesting things we built out are we're using augmented reality. So you can use your phone to look around the space and see who's in the space. So it does like a digital overlay.
Yep.
See which meeting rooms are available, wayfinding through the space, frequently asked questions or instructions on, could be on microwave, probably doesn't need instructions, but instructions in the kitchen. So it provides that sort of digital layer over the physical space. But I guess the really exciting thing with that is we've built this so that it can roll out across any space. So anyone could set up their own space like this. So we've got a whole building rolling out with this, with our platform. So all the tenants in the building will be able to use that to access the flexible space in the building, but also then potentially use it within their own tenancy to access meeting rooms, use it to engage between their staff as well. So that's just rolled out across our current spaces. We'll probably have 10 spaces using it, so our own plus external operators as well, and external buildings using it by June. And the goal with that is then, the collaboration elements of that as well, where, we proactively notify people of new opportunities to connect with other people, that sort of thing.
So they can see who's there and what they do, so
what
you can brainstorm.
And then it connects them together. So every day you get a new connection suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Like Facebook.
From someone within the space. Except, hopefully relevant to skills you're looking for or things you need.
Yeah.
Also, it notifies of events and all those sort of things. But we didn't want it to just be a social media sort of network. We want it to be a pushing out relevant information. So every day you just get 5 new things. It could be a new connection, a new event, a new learning opportunity. Looks at your calendar and sees what meetings you have and suggests meeting rooms available for you. And then, of course, booking space as well. So every day you just get 5 things emailed and through the app. And we think that's probably enough for people to deal with each day.
Is it an app on the phone? So
we're just rebuilding the app at the moment. So it'll be on Android and iOS. And we've got the web app up and running now and rolled out on our current spaces.
Impressive, mate. Well done. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So what would you give any sort of young entrepreneurs that are looking to start a business, from no matter what they're doing in any industry? They just sat there now, they're listening to this, they've got an idea.
Yeah.
What sort of tips would you give them?
Yeah, I think definitely getting along to those events like Startup Weekend, where you can meet a whole range of different people. I think getting along to, Morning Startup I mentioned. In the initial stages, you just want to really start building that network around you that can give you honest, frank feedback. Generally, the feedback from your family and friends isn't the best feedback.
They're your best cheerleaders, aren't they?
That's right, which is great, but you don't want to rely on them if you're about to spend a whole bunch of money to build something. You just can't trust the feedback they'll give unless they're, really unique and super honest with you and willing to hurt your feelings, sort of thing.
Which they're not.
Which they never are. So I think that's definitely getting a group of people around you who will give you that feedback makes a lot of sense. So we've got a bunch of programs that do that. It's now you can learn so much through online and from coming along to events. So learn as much as possible around, the problem you're trying to tackle. Speak with potential customers. That's a big mistake people make. They don't actually talk to customers. luckily we're seeing a lot less people building an app, spending $100,000 to build an app and then going, oh, I should go and now test it with my customers. There's a bunch of tools now to test, it's called your minimum viable product, test your potential product on potential customers and see if they'll pay for it, get feedback from them before you spend a lot of money building whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper than ever to start now, but it's more and more, because of that, it's more and more competitive to set things up.
It's cheaper than ever, but there's also more support as well, isn't there? There's a lot more people out there that are looking to help people.
So I think people jump into the startup community in Perth. There's lots of people ready to support, and then test ideas with your customer and with people who are going to give you honest, frank feedback.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to come along to some of these things because I definitely draw a lot of inspiration and motivation from seeing other people kicking goals and being successful. So you'll definitely see me there.
Great.
What other investments are you involved in? Anything else? Any other businesses or?
Yeah, so we, through Spacecubed, through that +8 program, we make investments into all of those companies. So, that'll have sort of 20 odd companies that we've invested in over the last sort of 3 years. So we've got those investments. We invested in a business called Skills of the Modern Age. So Nate Stirk with Soma. And that does a lot of design thinking courses, has a lot of online tools around, basically what are the skills of the future. So it does a future of work index for people to self-evaluate on how ready they are for the future of work. And I think that, and then has, tools and courses available, workshops available for people to upskill in the areas that they're not super strong or that they're worried about. So that's a great business. They're growing really rapidly, do a lot of stuff with corporates, but then have a lot of public workshops people are going to go along to as well. Another one of our other joint ventures is Core, which is I'm doing a lot of work in at the moment, which is around mining and resources innovation. Lots of opportunities in that space, especially now we've got our physical space with Core, but we have our programs running as well to try and reduce the barriers for people to access the mining and energy sector, to sell new products or new innovation to, and also then collaboration opportunities between startups and larger companies as well. So there are a few of the things we're doing. It's all of that goes through Spacecubed, but really exciting to see where those companies are all going.
Yeah, nice. I was going to say, you're a busy man, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been busy. We've got, like I said, luckily now the team's really good and driving a lot of that sort of stuff. But I think it's just as those trends sort of come into fruition, it's big changes are happening, and it's all opportunities for businesses like Spacecubed.
Yeah, excellent. Must be standing there like a proud uncle, seeing all these businesses flourish because of your help.
I think, but then you think back to how hard it is, and it's like, but it's definitely, there's lots of good people doing good stuff in Perth.
Yeah, there is, mate, definitely. So, mentors and coaches, have you obviously kind of just carved your way through this little journey without any help from anybody else?
No, we've got, and I have had coaches and throughout the years, or mentors throughout the years, but also we've got a board of Spacecubed, so get a lot of feedback from them as well. Get a lot of feedback from, we've just started using Adapt by Design, which is a tool and a coaching process for the whole business. So I think there's a number of different tools you can put around you. So whether it's mentors that can just give you, what they've done before, coaches who can push you to drive to the next level, or systems for your business to help, create that system and that culture of coaching and feedback. I think, getting all those things in place helps a lot.
Systems are hard to write, and just been through the process myself. I did it in a Word document, then I did it in something else, then I did it in something else, and I wish I had the help around me when I needed it.
I think you can save a lot of time and energy by getting people in who can help you with those sort of things.
You certainly can. So have you got any daily routines that you sort of use to get you through your days? Because being as busy as you are, do you just wake up and just get stuck into it, or have you got a set thing that you follow every morning to get you into the right frame of mind?
Not really. So I sort of just wake up, read the news and see what's going on, have breakfast and then head into work. So I get in quite early, so usually about sort of 7:15 I'm in the office, because then I can get sort of a solid hour and a half of work done before everyone else comes in. Or that's not hour odd done. I think then usually try and head home a bit earlier. Sometimes we have a lot of events on and those sort of things, but increasingly I don't have to attend. The first few years I think I was doing we'd have events at 6 a.m. in the morning through till sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And there was only a couple of us working there.
Yeah.
So you had to stay there the whole time. So I think definitely now my work-life balance is, smoothed out a lot. We've still got a lot on, but there's a lot of good people in our team and the community that are doing stuff. So probably less pressure on me around that. So yeah, I have a normal schedule back again where weekends are general. We might have events on weekends, but just drop in, but generally free to do other stuff.
Yeah,
So,
the events will be good fun though, will they?
They are.
Yeah, so
and that's part of the problem is I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's fun. But need to make sure there's that balance. But generally now, don't sit on the laptop at home doing work after hours and that sort of stuff. So have a much more sort of balanced approach to it, which is really good.
Nice. Good stuff, mate. It's good to hear. So have you got any hobbies then with this free time that you've got?
We do a lot of travel, so not outside of work as well. So we're just meant to go traveling in Asia, but that got knocked on the head.
Yeah, I'm going to Bali next week.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Good luck. So yeah, we'll see. How that all rolls out. But generally, a lot of travel. So I traveled a lot when I was working overseas, and now I get to travel a lot. So done, have hiked Kilimanjaro and done a lot of those sort of things as well. But yeah, I think the last year went and cycled around Japan, so around Shikoku, one of the southern islands. So yeah, really enjoyed traveling and more sort of adventure travel. But yeah, it's all good fun.
Yeah, nice, good stuff. 3 favorite books. I ask this to every guest.
Yes.
3 books that have changed your life.
Yeah. So I think before I moved back to Perth, I was reading Banker to the Poor, which is Muhammad Yunus's book around sort of social enterprise and like how we can use capitalism to have a positive impact and raise a whole group of people, which it has done globally, out of poverty through. And he was looking at banking systems as a way to do that, where large portion of the world's population just can't access any sort of the unbankable. They can't access finance. So I was reading that around social enterprise and social impact. And then at the same time reading, it was a book, Naomi Klein's Disaster Capitalism, which is about how capitalism's completely destroying the world. So very counter views of things. And we've set up Spacecubed as a social enterprise where we've got a foundation that owns the biggest chunk of a for-profit entity. So we can have that impact over time. We do a lot of work with schools around entrepreneurship, a lot of regional work as well. Because I think there's a balance there, which seems to be out of whack in the world at the moment. So I think there's, and it's a structural problem. It's not so much, people are just in those systems doing what they do. So I think those books were really good. And then the other book I've read, The Alchemist, I don't know if you've read that one. Yeah. Really good book. So yeah, really about, trying to get you back to what you should focus on and what's important in life. So yeah, definitely good books. And one I recommend, this is 4, but one I recommend for younger
you
people.
3.
Yeah, I know. One I recommend for younger people though is, I just thought of this, was the 100-Year Life. And it's basically looking at, people are going to live, we're going to live a lot longer than our parents did just because of health technology and better health in general. So it's a book about, that whole model of go to school, go to university, get a job doesn't really work if you're going to live 100 years plus anymore. So what does that new model of work and life look like? And what's a plan for that? So I think it's really focused on younger people looking at, if they get to the end of their 30s and haven't got a full-on career and haven't bought a house, it's actually not as big a problem as it was in the past.
Yeah.
But there's certain things at certain parts of your life you need to do. So definitely that's a good one for people to read if they're like, what am I doing sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think more young kids need exposure to stuff like that. So they're not just doing what the parents told them or what they've seen the parents do, don't they? So
yeah. No, I think it's a good book. I recommend it to people because it helps. I up until my late 20s, I'd been working overseas and hadn't really focused on a specific career. I'd done a lot of different things, but I think it's a good book for young people to read. Go, okay, hang on, I'm going to have time to sort all this out.
Yeah, brilliant. And what's your best place to eat in Perth?
So I'll give probably. I just went down south, so in Yellingup, there's it's the bistro. So it's in between sort of between Dunsborough and Margaret River, but it was really amazing. So shout out to them because it was a great spot, awesome wine and food there.
So many good places down there.
I know that's the challenge. It is really good, but it's 2.5 hours away. It's
people fly in from all over the world to go and eat and drink that sort of food.
Yeah.
So we should definitely take a lot of advantage of it if we live here.
Me and the wife generally have a yearly trip down there,
Yeah.
but we haven't had one this year. We've been a bit busy, so
Yeah. No, well, you see how Bali goes, and then if
Yeah,
that
yeah,
doesn't come
that
together,
gets
you can
cancelled.
head down south.
Excellent, mate. I really appreciate you coming in, and very, very interesting business that you got there.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, thanks
you
for the
very much.
opportunity.
Excellent, great stuff. So tune in next week for our next guest, and remember, every master was once a disaster, and every winner was once a beginner.